Hello everyone, and welcome to a trash summary of Week 13 in the Overwatch League, plus the Community MVP results from this week. The primary highlights from this week were Seoul being dumpstered twice, Shanghai beating New York in a thriller, and Philadelphia stopping the Paris reverse sweep to remain on top. Also, I've removed the positives and negatives from these videos to help shorten the time length of it. Anyway, let's just get right into it. Guangzhou defeated the Seoul Dynasty 3-0. They won on Ilios 2-0. Hollywood 1-0, and Hanamura 1-0. Guangzhou were left at 5 wins and 6 losses, with a map ratio of -6, and after all the matches of the weekend had been completed, Guangzhou were in 14th. While for Seoul, they were left at 3 wins and 2 losses, with a map ratio of +3, but they will play again the next day against the Hangzhou Spark. Moving on to the community MVP votes, Nero got the 3 points with 73.5%, Shu got the 2 points with his percentage of 42.9%, and Kron got the 1 point with his percentage of 38.8%. Moving on to the next match, the New York Excelsior were defeated by the Shanghai Dragons 2-3. New York won on Lijiang Tower 2-0 and then Eichenwald 4-3. But Shanghai took Volskaya 2-3, Rialto won the 2, and Busan 0-2 to win the match. This left New York at 7 wins and 2 losses, with a map ratio of +16. They will play again the next day against the Chengdu Hunters. While Shanghai were left at 9 wins and 1 loss, with a map ratio of +21, and after all the matches of the weekend had been played, they were left in second place. Moving on to the community MVP votes. Ding got the 3 points with his percentage of 45.3. Lip got the 2 points with his percentage of 35.8, and Jonak got the 1 point with his percentage of 34. Moving on to the third match of the week. The Dallas Fuel defeated the Washington Justice 3-0. They won Nepal 2-0, Hollywood 3-1, and Paris 2-1. Dallas were left at 4 wins and 4 losses with a map ratio of 0, and after all the matches of the weekend had been played, they were in equal 9th. While for Washington, they were left at 2 wins and 9 losses with a map ratio of -16, and after all the matches of the weekend had been played, they were left in 19th. Moving on to the community MVP votes. Decay got the 3 points with his percentage of 82.8. Doha got the 2 points with his percentage of 67.2. And Note got the 1 point with his percentage of 32.8. Moving on to the fourth match of the week. The LA Valiant defeated the Atlanta Reign 3-2. Atlanta won on Lijiang Tower 1-2 and Hollywood 3-4. But the Valiant would reverse sweep the Reign, winning on Hanamura 3-2, Dorado 3-2, and Busan 2-0. This left the Valiant at 3 wins and 6 losses, with a map ratio of -8, and this left them in 16th after all the matches of the weekend had been played. While for Atlanta, they were left in 4 wins and 4 losses, with a map ratio of +5, and they were left in 8th after all the matches of the weekend had been played. Now moving on to the community MVP votes. Shax got the 3 points with his percentage of 72.5. KSP got the 2 points with his percentage of 64.7. And McGravy got the 1 point with his percentage of 21.6. Moving on to the final match of day 1. The Houston Outlaws were defeated by the San Francisco Shock 0-3. The Shock won on Oasis 0-2 and Numbani 0-3. They would then tie on Paris 3-3, but then the Shock won on Rialto 1-3. This left Houston's record at 4 wins and 8 losses, with a map ratio of -9, and after all the matches had been played, they were left in 17th. While the Shock were left at 6 wins and 2 losses, with a map ratio of +10, and they were left in 4th after all the matches of the next day had been completed. Moving on to the community MVP votes. Rascal got the 3 points with his percentage of 77.1. Striker got the 2 points with his percentage of 54.2, and Choi Hyobin got the 1 point with his percentage of 43.8. Moving on to the second dumpstering of Seoul. Seoul lost 0-3 against the Hangzhou Spark. Hangzhou won on Busan 1-2, O.W.L 0-1, and Volskaya 1-2. This left Seoul at 3 wins and 3 losses with a map ratio of 0, and after the rest of the matches had been played, they were left in equal ninth. While for Hangzhou, they were left at 5 wins and 5 losses with a map ratio of -2, and they were left at 13th after the rest of the matches had been played. Moving on to the community MVP votes. Gooseway got the 3 points with his percentage of 54.5. Godsview got the 2 points with his percentage of 50, and Adora got the 1 point with his percentage of 43.2. Moving on to the next match of the week. The Chengdu Hunters were defeated 1-3 against the New York Excelsior. Chengdu won on Nepal 2-0, but then New York took Numbani 2-3. They would tie on Paris 4-4, but then New York would take Route 66 0-1, and Lijiang Tower 0-2 to win the match. This left the Chengdu Hunters at 3 wins and 8 losses, with a map ratio of -9, and this left them 18th in the standings after the rest of the matches had been played. While New York were left in 8 wins and 2 losses, with a map ratio of +18, and they were left in 3rd after the rest of the matches had been played. Moving on to the community MVP votes. Joe Knack got the 3 points with his percentage of 49, Sabi Orby got the 2 points with his percentage of 46.9, and Hopper got the 1 point with his percentage of 28.6. Moving on to the third match of the week. The Philadelphia Fusion defeated the Paris Eternal 3-2. Philadelphia won on Oasis 2-0 and Numbani 1-0. Paris would then take Volskaya 2-3 and Route 66 2-3, but Philadelphia would finish off the match by winning on Nepal 2-0. This left the Philadelphia Fusion's record at 10 wins and 1 loss, with a map ratio of +19, and after the rest of the matches had been played, they were left in first. While the Eternal were left at 5 wins and 5 losses with a map ratio of 0, and after the rest of the matches had been played, they were left in equal ninth. Moving on to the community MVP votes. EQO got the 3 points with his percentage of 61.4, Fielder got the 2 points with his percentage of 50.9, and Alarm got the 1 point with his percentage of 31.6. Moving on to the 9th match of the week. The Florida Mayhem defeated the Boston Uprising 3-0. They won Busan 2-0, Hollywood 4-3, and Hanamura 3-2. This left the Florida Mayhem's record at 5 wins and 4 losses, with a map ratio of +4, and they were left in 7th after the next match was played. And Boston were left at 1 win and 9 losses, with a map ratio of -22, and they were left in 20th after the next match had been played. Moving on to community MVP votes. Yagi got the 3 points with his percentage of 54.2, BQB got the 2 points with his percentage of 41.3, and Sireplayer got the 1 point with his percentage of 39.1. Moving on to the last match of the week. The Toronto Defiant were defeated by the Los Angeles Gladiators 1-3. Toronto took Lijiang 2-0, but then the Glads took Iconworld 1-3, Paris 1-2, and Rialto 0-3. This left Toronto at 4 wins and 6 losses with a map ratio of -3, and they were left in 15th. While the Gladiators were left at 4 wins and 3 losses with a map ratio of +1, and they were left in 6th. Moving on to the community MVP votes. Birdring got the 3 points with his percentage of 43.2, Space got the 2 points with his percentage of 36.4, and Mirror got the 1 point with his percentage of 29.5. Moving on to the Overwatch League standings. The top 3 remains the same, with the Fusion in first, the Dragons in second, and the Excelsior in third. The Shock are up 1 spot to 4th, the Spitfire are up 1 spot to 5th, while the Gladiators are up 5 spots to 6th. The Mayhem are up 2 spots to 7th, the Rain are down 1 spot to 8th, and the Fuel are up 5 spots to equal 9th. They share equal 9th with the Paris Eternal, who are down 1 spot, and the Seoul Dynasty, who are down 5 spots. The Vancouver Titans are down 2 spots, while the Spark remain in 13th. Guangzhou are up 1 spot to 14th, while the Toronto Defiant are down 3 spots to 15th. The Valiant are up 2 spots to 16th, while Houston are down 1 spot to 17th, and Chengdu are down 1 spot to 18th. And Washington remain in 19th, and Boston remain in 20th. Moving on to the top 10 in the community MVP votes. Carpe is in first on 27 points, Flare is in second on 20 points, Decay is in third on 18 points, Hexy is in fourth on 15 points, Jinmu, Nero, Lip, and Jonak are all tied in fifth on 14 points, Gooseway is in ninth on 13 points, and Shawfort and Birdring are tied on 10th on 12 points. If you want to pause the video and read the top 10 in the DPS, tank, and support lines, you can pause and watch the video now and read out to yourself who's in what place. Thank you to the 75 different people who voted in this week's community MVP poll, and thank you to everyone who has watched the video, and please subscribe for more.